Hey, if you can see me and hear me, let me know. Say hello, hello, hello. We're having some technical issues, but we're going to get right back on track here. Say hello. If you can see me, say yes. Gabby, I can see you. I can hear you. Tell me yes or no. We're going to keep trying. We're going to get this right, even if technology is difficult for us today. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Let's see. I'll wait for just a minute here. I have to be patient too. And Shayna's going to be back with us in one moment. I see people coming on to watch, so I think we're going to be okay. Say hello if you can see me, and hello if you can hear me. Hello, hello. All right. Yes, thank you, Olga. You said yes. I believe the chat box is just a minute behind real time. So thank you for your patience. It's exciting.
Gabby, I can see you, but I can't hear you.
Really? Still? Oh no.
Can you hear
How
me?
strange. I can hear you.
Okay.
So, well, let me try this. Maybe you can talk for the next few minutes about your product and about you. We had a question about
Okay. So I'll talk for a couple minutes, a little bit about myself. Someone asked me about my certification and experience in teaching English. Um, I've been teaching for a long time. I've taught various subjects from math to writing. And when I moved to Brazil to be with my husband, this is after I graduated from college, I decided I wanted to teach English. So I needed to get certified. So I went to a CELTA certification course. That's one of the best and most intensive courses for for teachers who really want to be able to teach English well. Because not every native speaker will make a great teacher, right? Because we get questions about idioms and what's the difference between present perfect and past perfect. And it takes some skills to be able to explain those things in a way that will make sense for the students. So I got certified, and that involved me teaching a class as well as taking classes on how to teach the English language. And I got feedback from other teachers and from the students actually about what things I were doing that they liked or didn't like. And then after that, I had several years of experience teaching in the classroom in Brazil before starting Espresso English. Gabby, were there any other questions from the chat that I could answer? I will have Gabby type them in and then I can answer them.
Yeah, let's see here. If you have any questions for Shayna, you can ask. Let's see. Shayna's phrasal verbs course, does it have videos or is it all text? Great question, Aragon. Shayna's going to talk about.
Oh, someone asked if my phrasal verbs course has videos or if it's all text. Yes, it has videos. Now, the videos are the text on the screen with me speaking. So at the same time as I'm speaking, you can see the text on the screen. And so every lesson comes with video, text, and audio. So you can choose what's the best way for you to learn. And actually, I think we're going to publish some free samples on the English Power Pack website. In fact, they might already be up. Gabby, are they up? Okay, so in the top of the website, later on after the webinar, you can click on samples and you can actually take a sample lesson from the phrasal verbs course. So you can see if you like it, and you can take samples from all the other courses in the Power Pack as well. Anything else, Gabby? I know we're almost out of time until the next teacher will come on. Let me see. Oh, so someone asked about, I think, slang, idioms, phrasal verbs, collocations, all these different elements of the language. And yeah, you know, languages are alive, right? They're not just in textbooks. And languages are things that we use on a daily basis, and people create idioms. And so this is why English, every language, I think, but English has a lot of these informal expressions like slang and phrasal verbs and collocations. And really, the best way to learn them, you can try learning from movies and TV shows, but that can be a little bit difficult if you don't have someone to explain it to you. So you might see a scene in a movie and understand the general idea, but there might be some slang words that you just don't understand, and you need a native speaking friend or a teacher to explain it. So I always recommend just taking, again, a variety of courses. So I think in the Power Pack, we have a really nice mix. We have some phrasal verbs. We have some stories, which will have some informal language. We have pronunciation, which is important for also just understanding English. And so it's a really good way to get a wide variety of all the aspects of the language. I think we have Kevin on. Kevin, can you, is that Kevin?
Yeah, hey Kevin.
Hello.
Kevin, I can't hear Kevin.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Kevin, can you hear me? Can you hear Gabby? Okay. Shayna, I wonder if your speaker is not working. Oh, we lost.
Can you hear me, Gabby?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Oh, super duper. Awesome.
That's wonderful. Well, I wonder if Shayna will be back. Oh, there she is. Hey, Shayna, can you hear us? Hello?
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
I screwed everything up.
No, we were having some technical issues that were not too bad, but I think everything's okay except Shayna cannot hear me. And you. Shayna cannot hear. But
Weird.
it was okay because Shayna was talking for a bit about her product. And before we start, Kevin, I'd like to just let Shayna say goodbye. Yeah. So let me send her a quick text here. Yes, please say bye and any wishes for the learners. Okay.
Okay, so Kevin is going to chat with Gabby about his experience teaching English, so I will say goodbye for now, and I hope to see all the learners inside the Power Pack. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much, Shayna. Awesome. Hey, Kevin, it's good to see you. What's up?
It's good to see you, too. Hello to everybody out there who is watching this.
Yeah, if you can see and hear Kevin, say hello, hi, what's up, how's it going? Greetings. I'm trying to think of any other possibilities. Did I cover all of them?
What's up?
What's
the
up?
word? What's hanging?
How's it hang? Yeah. What's new?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. We have a good group of people who are live with us here. I'm super excited for that. We just started off with Shayna from Espresso English, and it was great to talk with her. Even though we had some technical issues, it's actually okay because the important thing is that the learners who are attending live could hear us. And so everybody could hear, just we couldn't hear each other for a minute, but it is all good. So where are you today? Are you at home? Are you?
I am in the beautiful state of Colorado. I live in Denver, Colorado. This is where I'm from. And after many years out of Colorado, I came back here last year. And I am very happy to be back in such a lovely, beautiful state full of mountains and trees and forests and it's summertime here now too, which is great because it's very warm.
Wonderful. I just came back to the US and I'm in New York at the moment, and it's so beautiful. I love the US in the summertime.
Oh, yeah.
Would you recommend Colorado in the summer?
Absolutely. The city of Denver is very, very nice. It's not gigantic. It's not a extremely large city, but it has a lot to do. But the best part about Colorado are the mountains. From the city, you drive 1 hour and you're in beautiful mountain land where there's huge, big mountains and forests, and you can go, and especially if you like hiking and mountain biking and camping and stuff like that, it's a wonderful place to be.
I love that stuff. All that sounds great.
Sure.
Oh man. I love camping and hiking. Maybe next time, instead of doing a party online, we'll do a party where we're hiking and camping. That would
be good. Yeah, we don't have a beach. I love the beach. I love tropical climates. And one thing I had to think about is we don't have a beach here in Colorado, but we have our own paradise, which are the mountains. And if you take advantage of those mountains, it's very enjoyable and inspiring. And it doesn't have palm trees, but it's beautiful nonetheless. So it's our own little paradise, and it's a very popular city. A lot of people are moving to Denver.
You know what? I just had 2 friends move to Denver. Are you right in Denver?
Yeah, I live in the city.
Okay, very cool. I wanted to ask you about something, and actually let me tell our viewers, if you guys have questions for Kevin, like whatever you want to know about Kevin, this is the time to ask. You can ask in the chat box, and then we'll take a look in the chat box for your questions in a few minutes. But sometimes the chat box is a few minutes late. It takes a few minutes for us to see it. So go ahead and type your questions anytime. But I want to ask Kevin about your connection with Brazil and starting your English teaching. Like, how did you become an online English teacher? Or like, how did this all come about? What was your formation? Did you study teaching English? Did you start teaching English in the US or Brazil? Like, how did this happen that now you're an English teacher?
Sure. And I'll try to condense this. It's kind of a long story, and maybe not the most typical story, but it goes like this. So when I was in college, I did 1 year in Europe. And I was around 23 years old. I went to Prague in the Czech Republic. And that introduced me to living and experiencing a foreign country, foreign land, and meeting people from different countries, and also putting me in a place where people didn't speak English. So what Americans do, and often native speakers do, is when they travel and when they want to stay somewhere and kind of live there for a while, they end up teaching English because there's such a need for that.
Yep.
So even though I was studying, I needed some extra money, to buy some beers and nice dinners and things like that. So I started teaching English, and that was my first introduction to that. So mostly conversation classes, very informal, but fast forward a few years, I come back to the US. I graduated with a degree in psychology, so my background is in psychology. But when I finished college, I didn't want to start a very long career here in the US. So I wanted to live abroad. And it didn't really matter where, but I wanted to go to another country. And I also really wanted to learn a foreign language. And believe it or not, I didn't really care which language that was either. I just knew that I wanted to become fluent in another language. And I had problems growing up learning Spanish. I'd always tried to learn Spanish, gone to school to learn Spanish, but I was literally one of the worst students in class most of the time. So it was frustrating. But once I started traveling, I realized if I put myself in real situations with real conversations, connecting with people, and really trying to communicate with people, I actually was good at learning the language. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go move to another country and I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it work. And Brazil happened to just be the top of the list because of, like I said, palm trees, beach, things like that. I really enjoyed the idea of that. So I went to Brazil, quit my job here, got a backpack, went to Brazil, said, oh, let's see what happens.
So adventurous.
Yeah, it was a little scary. People would say, oh, why are you going to Brazil? You don't know anybody. You don't speak Portuguese. Da, 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 da. And I said, well, it's true. However, a good place to learn Portuguese is in Brazil, I would imagine.
Definitely.
So I went, and I really liked it. People were very nice in Brazil, and I still think Brazilians are very, very welcoming, warm, easy to connect with people. And it was beautiful there. So I said, okay, I'm staying here. Again, being an American, a native speaker in a foreign country, the natural approach is to start teaching English unless you have another plan. But I didn't have a plan. So I started teaching English very slowly, you know, one or two students a week, and then 5 students a week, and then 10 students a week, just kind of building from there. And the interesting part about that is I started from scratch, meaning I started from nothing with my teaching methods and styles. And I really had to kind of invent my own way of helping students become better at English. So in the beginning, it was rough. I tried different methods, different books, different styles. But then I started to actually teach more of a style based on what worked for me, which was real communication, connecting with people, and finding situations where you could learn how to enjoy the process of learning a language. Because so many students came to me and said, oh, Kevin, I need to learn English. My boss is upset with me, or I have a new job, or I want a new job and I need English. Oh, it's so very, not very happy about that experience. So what would happen is they would learn for, you know, a few months or something like that, and they wouldn't be seeing the results they wanted, which was only to speak better, and they weren't having fun. They would quit, and then they would probably give up, and that was no good. So I started helping people changing their relationship with learning English and showing them how they could live a lifestyle and connect their lives and their interests and things like that to English. Did this for some years and years, and then I think I taught for around 7 years in Brazil, 7 to 8 years. Believe it or not, I've given over 7,000 hours of private classes.
Wow.
Imagine.
7,000. Yeah. That sounds like a lot.
It sounds like a lot.
I guess you're experienced.
Yeah, sometimes I have to do the math again. It's like, really, is that true?
Wow.
But then, it's so, you know, over time, you know, obviously it got easier, but also always learning how to pass on more effective, more enjoyable methods to students through teaching experience. So then about 2 years ago, I decided that I was going to move back to the US and take my Brazilian now wife with me. I met her there, and now we're back here together. So not being in a foreign country and not having that access to students and teaching the way that I wanted to, I decided to move things online. And also after that, I realized, you know, there's such a huge need of online English learners that are looking for good resources, good courses, and things like this. And I can not only help Brazil, but I could help people around the world. So yeah, so finishing here, I had a website called Inglés Ninja. Maybe some of you have seen that before. Obviously, focused more on helping Brazilians, and I would mix kind of Portuguese and English. And when I came back to the US, I decided to not only expand my reach and to kind of reach more students around the world, but also kind of go more into this idea of helping people get more motivated and more inspired, and just basically have more desire to connect with English more often, so they can become better speakers. And so now Feel Good English is what I do, and I try to make people feel good about learning English and feel good about their English and feel good about life in general.
I love that. I love that so much, because I think you should be able to enjoy learning English. That's awesome. Just a quick announcement. The chat box was full, and I didn't realize that we had so many people watching live and trying to join the chat box that it was full, but I was able to open that up to more users. So I think we'll have a lot more questions now. And if you're watching, make sure that you join the chat list or the chat box just below the livecast video that's streaming live at englishpowerpack.com/livecast. So I see a bunch of new people saying hello, happy to join you. So that's really cool. And I'm watching for questions for Kevin. So if you do have questions for him, now's the time to ask. But I love that you said, Kevin, that, you know, English should be something that you enjoy doing and you're trying to help people feel good about their English. I know so many English learners or language learners in general feel bad about learning because maybe you had a teacher who made you feel embarrassed when you made a mistake, or, oh, you didn't say the right preposition, so now you're a bad student. But you don't follow that, right? You do something completely different.
Sure, yeah, and you know, and I think there's such a difference, there's so much difference between learning in a classroom and trying to analyze the language and to treat it very much like a school subject versus taking a language and trying to communicate with it with other people. And I never did good in that first environment. The second environment I did well. I think both are very valid, but I also think they're so different. We can connect the two, of course. We can mix a little of classroom learning with communicating with others. But I'd say one of the most important things that a learner can do is find their own unique style of learning and what works for them, what they feel good about, but also what gives them enough challenge. If we want to improve, we need to be challenged sometimes. So I'm not saying don't ever do something that doesn't feel good to you. You have to find the situations that challenge you and that make you feel uncomfortable sometimes. So a mix of both works. And here's my wife walking in the room. Hello.
Hello, Kevin's wife. This is really cool to meet you. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
So that was Paula, anyway. So where was I? Yeah, so finding your unique style, finding what's enjoyable to you, finding what works for you. And me as a teacher, I think I can help people find that path. One thing I've never experienced, and I don't know about you, but you might be in the same situation. Being American, we're born in a place where we speak English. And so English is the international language. We don't have to learn it. So by choice, I decided to try to learn Spanish, to learn Portuguese. It was a choice, like, yay, I can do this. But that's not true for, well, probably a lot of people watching this now. Is they were forced, they have to learn English. So it's not even a choice. If they want to move up in life and get a better job and do these types of things, they actually have to learn. So that creates kind of a rough situation sometimes. And if I can help people get through that process, that's kind of what position I put myself in.
Yeah, I love that. It's a new way of thinking about English learning. And you're right, for everyone out there, English is the language of international travel, international careers. You know, when you go online, when you want to research something, you probably want to use English because there's more information out there. So I totally agree. I am fascinated by what you're doing and your website, Feel Good English. I also want to ask you about your involvement in the English Power Pack, because of course you're one of the awesome teachers who was part of it, and you have this amazing course. It's called Attacking the 4 Ps. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And these are the most difficult things for English learners. I'm guessing that you got a lot of questions about prepositions, phrasal verbs. What were the other two?
So prepositions, phrasal verbs, the present perfect tense. I have been, I have seen.
Oh.
And yeah, and pronunciation.
And pronunciation. Cool. And we got a question in the chat box about does Kevin's course include prepositions and phrasal verbs, because it's something that someone mentioned is really difficult for them. So does your course include those things? Tell us a little more.
Yeah, so yes and no, if that's a kind of a complicated answer.
Tell us more.
But, so what I'm offering, and first of all, thanks Gabby for bringing great teachers together to provide this for people. There's so much stuff online. There's so many options. There's so many courses and things like that. It can be very hard to know what to do. So you coming together, bringing great teachers and great courses into one package is awesome. So thanks for doing that. My offering is more about teaching students how to learn these aspects, like how to think about it, how to improve these skills while doing other types of English practice. So you can kind of take anything online. One thing I really like to do is show people, like I said, people can find their own style of learning, their own journey. And to do this, a lot of times they need to be able to choose their content. So if they can choose whatever content they are learning from and turn those into powerful lessons, it will make it more enjoyable for them. So with this course, I teach, for example, prepositions. I will teach some basic ideas behind prepositions, why they're so difficult, kind of how they work, and then also give some tips on how students can start improving prepositions through natural learning, to pay attention more to them, to see how they look in sentences, to kind of connect these, and also if they want to go deep, if they really want to attack prepositions, give them some tools on how they can do that. And then also, because I really personally, I like learning through audio and putting headphones in my ears and walking around the neighborhood, going for a run, or sitting on the train, learning and listening. So in the course pack, there's also audio lessons, and the audio lessons are supplements to the lesson. So for example, prepositions, you'll learn about how to learn prepositions, what to look for, and then there's some audio lessons that can be used after to give you an idea of how to start applying the lessons that I learned for the students.
That's awesome.
There's videos too in the book. Yeah.
I love that, because like you, I really agree that it's important to learn how to learn so that you can be an independent learner, because you might, like, talking to you guys who are watching, you might take Kevin's course and you'll learn, hopefully you will take it as part of the English Power Pack, and you'll learn about how to be a better learner so that you're not always dependent on your teacher. And I love that. I mean, of course, you'll learn about specific prepositions and phrasal verbs and grammar and pronunciation as all part of all of the English Power Pack. But the point is, we don't want you to depend forever and ever on us. We want to make you a stronger, more fluent, more confident English learner. So I love that so much. Now, there's a few questions for you. I want to make sure that we get to the questions before our next interview. And let me check who is our next after Kevin. We have Michael. Cool. So I had a question about your YouTube channel. Do you have a YouTube channel? That was one question.
Great question. With English Ninja, I had some videos, and now because the Feel Good English podcast is new, I just started the YouTube channel. What you'll find there now is they are the episodes from the podcast. So you can listen to the episodes and link to the episodes of the podcast. And for those of you that don't know what I do, if you don't know what a podcast is, podcasts are audio programs that are released every week or every day or a month. And it's kind of a subscription, a free subscription to audio programs. So my podcast is about, I take books and TED Talks and interesting ideas from people that have had a lot of success in life. And I take some basic ideas. Maybe if there's a big book, I'll read the book. I love reading books about personal development and business leadership. So I'll take a couple ideas from a book, put it into a podcast episode, simplify it so it's a little easier for English learners to understand, but also give lessons that they can take action on immediately to start implementing into their life. And these aren't just English lessons. These are kind of life and business lessons. But then also I give some English vocabulary at the end of the podcast episode. So you can obviously find that on iTunes and Stitcher and places like that. for now, my YouTube channel has those episodes. Of course, I would love to start making videos, wonderful videos like you do yourself, Gabby. Start doing things like that. But the focus at the moment is podcast. But you can go to Feel Good English on YouTube, and you will see the podcast episodes, so you can listen to them on YouTube as well.
Awesome. I have a question about, well, two questions. Let's start with the one about pronunciation. So there was a question, I've actually been taking notes on questions. I should write down who asked, but there was a question about how does your product help people with pronunciation? Because one of the P's was pronunciation. So I think people are wondering, like, well, how exactly am I going to improve my pronunciation with your product, with the attacking the 4 P's? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So my methods are kind of based on, if anybody's heard of a word called hack, H-A-C-K, it's kind of how to get quick results. Sometimes this can't be done, sometimes it can. And I think with learning English, there's hacks that can be taught to see quick results. So there's a great pronunciation course in the English Power Pack from Rachel, which is probably one of the better, one of the most knowledgeable teachers about pronunciation.
Yes.
And her knowledge about pronunciation is way beyond my knowledge. But what I have put into the course are quick ways that you can see pronunciation improvements through a few different tactics that you could apply immediately. And I've tried these with students. I've tried them with groups of students, and it's kind of a fun way to sound more native quickly. It takes a little bit of acting and trying to sound like somebody who you not are, and kind of really it takes a little bit of courage to do some of these pronunciation hacks. But quick methods to really see fast improvements in pronunciation. Now, will you speak with perfect pronunciation right after this? Probably not. But like I said, it gives you ideas. It gives you ways to start implementing these ideas and to see results quickly without having to study for a long period of time.
Yeah, it really helps to learn exactly what points to focus on to improve your pronunciation, because I think sometimes it's hard to know where to even begin. Like you see other English learners who are more fluent than you, and you see native speakers, and you wonder, how can I get like that? And it seems like there's a wall between you and these people who are more fluent. And I think what you're doing is breaking down that wall. You know, you and Rachel's course are really strong with pronunciation, and just giving people the smallest next step to take. So it's not so overwhelming.
Yeah, and I mean, because it's like vocabulary. There's millions of, or hundreds of thousands of words. Where do you even start? Which words do you learn? Like with pronunciation, well, there's so many sounds and problems, and so I would say my pronunciation course is going to help people see quick improvements overall. And then they probably would still have some issues with certain sounds, certain things like th, the, thirsty, whatever. But Rachel's English course would probably attack those very specific details, which a lot of students have the same problems with. So it's kind of a nice way to get my course would be a nice way to get quick benefits, and then you can go deeper for those people that want to make pronunciation a priority.
Yeah, pronunciation is definitely a priority. I think if you want to communicate with people, I think one person in the chat mentioned that he wants to, I think it was Sayaka, maybe earlier here. Sorry, there's so much going on in the chat box. I'm like, wow, where was that? But I think Sayaka said that she wants to get a job using English to get a better job. So definitely pronunciation is important, because I think in any job you're going to have to speak to people. It's not going to be just writing. So it's really important. We just have a couple more minutes, and then I think Michael's going to join us. So I guess if you guys have any other questions, or Kevin, if you want to share any last points or any wishes for our audience here today,
Sure.
I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Yeah, we'll hang out, and Michael should be here soon.
Yeah.
One thing, I guess, one of the last things I will tell the people watching this, and this is something to consider. Whenever you're doing something new, whenever you're learning something new, whenever you're in a new situation or trying to build skills in something, or you have a new job, or you're starting school somewhere, or you're traveling to a foreign country, things are going to be difficult. They're going to be hard and challenging and frustrating, and you're often going to feel uncomfortable. A lot of times people, when they have these feelings, they try to avoid them. And it's a natural human reaction. We don't want to feel uncomfortable. So if we're in a new situation, let's say we're in a new job and everything's scary, the boss is kind of, he's not a very nice guy, and there's so many things to learn, and the other employees are not treating you very well, you're going to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So one reaction would be to just quit. Say, I don't want this. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I feel bad. But the other thing is to know that when you feel these feelings, when you're feeling uncomfortable, when you're feeling out of place, it's a sign to you that you're learning and that you're growing and that you're becoming better, and it's a challenge.
Yeah.
So knowing that the feelings that are there as a sign to show you are on a better path is very important. Now, I'm not saying you should always do everything and say yes to everything and never remove yourself from a situation. But I think we often know if something's important, if we know we're in the right place, like if we commit to something, things will come into our lives that are going to help us progress and move in that area. So know that when these challenges come, when these situations come, it will bring uncomfortable feelings. They'll make us scared. They'll make us almost want to quit. But if you keep going and just stay there and keep moving, almost all of the time, eventually you will feel much better about it. You'll become much better. You'll feel more comfortable. It will become natural for you. And you've leveled up your life. You've leveled up where you are. And then it's time to move on to more challenges. So that's what I would say. With English, put yourself in challenging situations. Don't avoid uncomfortable situations. Look for those uncomfortable situations. That will be a sign that you are growing and that you're learning. So yeah, that's what I would really like the audience to hear.
I like that a lot, and I relate what you're saying to, for example, working out. Like if you're working out or if you're playing a sport and your body hurts because you're pushing yourself, you're challenging yourself, that's when you become stronger. So if it kind of hurts, if you feel kind of embarrassed, if you feel kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this, I love that you're saying that is actually a good thing because you're pushing yourself to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And it's a great example too. And one thing that can show you is you don't have to go all out, meaning you don't have to go from 0 to 100% instantly. You can start small, take little steps. So exercising, you haven't exercised in a year. You spent the last year sitting in your chair, looking at Facebook, and you look down and you can't see your feet because your belly has grown. So you don't just go to the gym 5 times a week for 2 hours. That would be very hard. But go out, run for maybe 10 minutes, and you'll feel uncomfortable pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But start there and then just keep building, and you'll notice how your body and your mind will help you improve. And you don't have to force it, but if you put your mind there, your body and your mind will adapt to these situations.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, I'm really glad that you could join us. I know there's a few more questions in the chat about like general, like how to, improve speaking, how to improve your fluency, but we're going to be talking about those throughout the live cast here. And inside the English Power Pack, you're going to learn a lot of skills, a lot of good lessons for speaking and for listening. So I see actually Michael's in the chat box, so he's probably going to connect with us real soon. So I will say thank you so much for joining us live, Kevin. It's been awesome, and hope to see you again soon. And you all who are watching, you can see more of Kevin, hear more from Kevin inside the English Power Pack.
Thank you, Gabby. Thanks for everybody watching this, and we will talk to you soon.
Awesome. See you, Kevin. Thanks. Bye. So I know Kevin did a great job, and Michael is up next. And we have a few questions about buying the English Power Pack that I wanted to answer here just while we're waiting to get connected. Oh, hey, Michael's here. Hey, what's up? About buying the English Power Pack that I wanted to answer here just while we're waiting to. Are you watching the live cast?
I am. I'm going to turn off the live cast because it was confusing to hear you 3 seconds after you.
I know, that's the thing. There's a little delay with technology. Just 1 second before we start, I just want to answer a quick question. I was about to answer it just before you got here. I know, wait. So I had several questions from people asking about how to buy the English Power Pack. The English Power Pack starts on Monday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so New York time. And if you look on the sidebar of EnglishPowerPack.com/livecast, you can see a countdown timer. So right now, there's 3 days and about 8 hours left until you can start to buy the English Power Pack. So you can mark your calendar for Monday or Tuesday, depending on where you live. There will be 7 days where you can buy the English Power Pack from June 27th to July 4th. So you come back to EnglishPowerPack.com and you can buy it using a credit card or PayPal. Those are the 2 ways that you can buy. Unfortunately, we can't do cash. We can't do Western Union. We can't, accept other forms of payment. Just PayPal or credit card. And if you have any questions, any problems, you can type your message into the contact box at the bottom of EnglishPowerPack.com or email directly to info@GoNaturalEnglish.com. Okay, so I think that answers the questions about how to buy. If you have any more questions, let me know. Also, if you think of questions for Michael, you can start typing them in the chat box. So now, welcome, Michael.
Gabby, thank you so much. Wow, this is live, actually live. Awesome.
It's actually live, and this is so cool. I'm so happy to be able to talk to you. It's been a while, and man, I'm so happy to catch up with you. And I really like your sign in the background.
There you go. Thank you, Gabby. Yay! And I put, because the English Power Pack is going to be an Independence Day weekend sale, which is, we call that the 4th of July here.
Yep. Red,
white, and blue. Well, and black, because we can see it. So.
Yes. I love that. That's so nice. Yeah. Are you in your classroom there?
I am. This is Happy English Central. This is where it all happens. I meet my students here, and we whiteboard there, and yeah, that's the whole place.
That's so cool.
This is the whole place.
What's cool about what you do is that not only do you have happyenglish.com and the podcast, you have a physical school where if people happen to be in New York City or if they want to plan to come study, they can do that in person, right?
Right, exactly. In fact, I had a student that was visiting from Japan this week. She was only here for 4 days, and she said, I want to come and study English. And I said, super, you're in. So yeah.
Cool.
This is, wow, this is, in October, it's going to be 6 years that I've had Happy English here, right on Madison Avenue.
Madison Avenue, what a great address.
Yeah, it's I'm 2 blocks from Grand Central Station and 1 block from the New York Public Library on 5th Avenue. So it's an awesome place, and it's a little small, but it's cozy. But I only do 1-to-1 lessons, so it's perfect for that.
That is so cool. Tell us a little bit about you. I want to share how cool you are with everyone. I know you're don't laugh. You're awesome. And you're a native New Yorker, right?
I am, yeah. I grew up in a place called Long Island,
Okay.
or we say Long Island. If you talk like that, because sometimes people from New York, they talk like that. So that's where I'm from. I was born here, and I've lived here my entire life, except for 4 years when I lived in Japan.
Very cool. I love that. And I love your sampling of the New York accents. So cool.
Yeah, because that's how they talk over here. If you go down to Brooklyn, they talk like that, if you know what I'm saying. So here's a quick lesson, because I know that when you were talking with Kevin, a lot of people were interested in pronunciation. So, and I know that a lot of people have trouble with the TH sound in English. Yep. So you can New York your English really simply. Instead of saying TH, you can say D. Like, instead of saying that's nice, you can just say that's nice.
That's nice. So
That's
you'll be
right.
a New Yorker.
Exactly.
That's awesome. I love it. So you're from New York.
Uh-huh.
How did you become an English teacher? How did Happy English happen like 6 years ago?
Oh my God. So how much time do we have? Okay, here's the really quick story. I was in the music business for 14 years, mostly teaching, but doing some arranging and other things in the music business. And I got completely burned out on that. And I decided to change my life. I moved to Japan in 1994, and I became an English teacher, teaching English in Japan. And I did that for 4 years. It was awesome. I was teaching in a place called Sendai, which is in the north part of Japan. Anybody here from Sendai? Y'all remember me?
Maybe. I think we do have some people watching from Japan.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So then, and then after that, the language school company I worked for had a school in New York, and they said, hey, we need somebody in New York. Would you like to go? And I said, sure. So I came back to New York, and I worked there for another 13 years. And then unfortunately, or fortunately, that company went bankrupt. And then I said, what am I going to do with myself? And I said, you know what? I'm going to start my own school. And that's what I did. And that's what happened in 2010. And when I was working for that other language company called Geos, for the last 8 or 9 years, I was in management and still working with international students, but not really in the classroom. And then I thought, what do I really like to do? I'm going to get a new job. I want to do something that I love. I love to teach. And that's what I really, really enjoy the most. And I have the most fun doing that. So I said, you know what? That's it. And so a lot of people ask me well, why is it Happy English? Because it's everything's happy, or you're always happy and this guy's happy. And actually, I have a Jack Russell Terrier. I have a little dog, and her name is Happy.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, and actually Happy, here's a shout out to my dog. Happy just turned 17 years old last week. So,
wow, happy birthday to Happy.
Happy birthday, Happy. So yeah, so that's how Happy English came out.
That's great. I just got a question in the chat box about what your website is. So I'm going to add that there, myhappyenglish.com.
Right, myhappyenglish.com.
And do you have a YouTube channel?
I do. Thanks to somebody whose name is Gabby, who has an amazing, oh my God, influence on me.
Thank you.
With, what is it, over 100,000, 200,000 YouTube subscribers?
I think in the next few weeks, Go Natural English will have over 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. So maybe you guys can help me with that if you haven't subscribed yet.
If you guys, if there's anybody who has not subscribed to your channel yet, I would be amazed. That's amazing. Yeah, I do have a YouTube channel. It's Happy English NY. And I started that about 4 years ago, and I put up a lot of videos, and then I got into doing podcasts, and I haven't done videos in a while. And then at the beginning of April, I said, okay, back to YouTube I go. So I think I've done about 20 or 30 videos so far, and I love it. It's so much fun, much more fun than a podcast, although I'm kind of trying to do both too.
Well, you have a great voice and you have a great presence on video, so why not do both? It's great.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
These are great idioms. I love how, on Twitter and on social media, you're always sharing different idioms too, because that's really essential for understanding English.
Yeah, I think video. I think that all the different mediums are good. I think it's good to read something in English. A lot of my students ask, how what's the key? What do I need to improve?
Yeah.
And take the 4 skills: reading, writing, speaking, listening. Read something every day, listen to something every day, speak, and then write. And the listening, what's good? You can listen to a podcast.
Oh, you froze for a second. I heard you can listen to a podcast and
right.
You froze.
Right. Podcasts or videos are great for listening practice, I think.
Great. We had a comment about whether you should really say dat or that. I thought that was interesting because, it's great if you can do the TH sound. I think, a lot of native speakers don't do it. So I think what I always say is just try to communicate, don't get bogged down in the details, but you'll hear native speakers that say dat, and it's not necessarily the perfect pronunciation, but it's about communication, I think.
Here's an idiom. Gabby hit the nail on the head.
The nail on the head?
And what that means is that you're exactly right. I have a student in Italy that we work with on Skype, because I also work with students on Skype. And we were talking about pronunciation one day, and I was helping him with a pronunciation point. And he said, you know what? He said, I don't think this is necessary. I said, why? And he said, because people speak English all over the world with their own country's accent. He said, that's the charming point about English. And I thought about that, and if as long as there's communication, and I always tell my students exactly what you just said, as long as we can communicate and there's no miscommunication, then your pronunciation is perfect. If there's something that's not right, like there's that commercial for the big language chain, have you seen that? The German, it's the German Coast Guard. And he hears a message, and the message is from the ship, and he says, we are sinking, we are sinking, we are sinking. And then the Coast Guard agent says, what are you sinking about? And then it says, learn English. There's a communication breakdown.
Yeah.
That's not good. But, to answer that question, should I say dat or that? Yeah, I think you should say that, because that's the correct one. But don't be surprised if you come here to New York and you ask somebody, hey, where's Central Park? And they go, oh, Central Park? That's over there.
Yeah, and you have to be able to understand that.
Right, exactly.
So let me ask you, I had a great question here from, I want to get the name. There's so many comments. I got to go back. Aragon, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. But he's saying, Michael, what's the best way to study the whole English Power Pack? I mean, it's a lot of information, and only your course are 400 MP3 files. So there's a lot of information. And I keep saying, you guys, there's so much value in the English Power Pack. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. And so much work has gone into it, and so many great teachers. But this is a really good question. When you have so much awesome material, well, first of all, tell us a little bit about what is your product in the English Power Pack, and then maybe we can talk about how to approach it, how to start learning.
Sure. So it's what I call the Master Learners Pack. It's 400 of my podcasts in an MP3, so 400 MP3s, and about 850 or so page PDF book. It's huge. It's a huge file. And it covers all the different aspects of English, mostly idioms and slang, grammar, pronunciation, and a lot of things about confusing words. And so, confusing words like, should I use by or until, or because of, or celebrate and congratulate, things like that. So it's kind of a little bit of everything, I think, and I'm sure someone will find something useful among all those 400 different English lessons.
Yeah. So it's your podcast, the audio and the transcripts.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's awesome. How long are your podcasts usually?
It's about an average of about 5 minutes.
Great. So it's not like hours long each one. You can do them quick.
Yeah, each lesson is it's 1 point. Okay. When I started Happy English and started working with social media to teach people English, of course I went to Facebook, and the second social media I used was Twitter. And Twitter only gives you 140 characters. Yeah. So I thought, how am I going to teach somebody something in 140 characters? And so I kind of got the 1 point lesson down to a science, I think. And so it's 400 1-point lessons. So a lot of times when I do a podcast, people say, oh, well, you didn't mention that. And I'm like, yeah, right. I didn't mention that because one topic could have 50 different subtopics, but I want to give you 1 point. That's the 1 point, and it's clear. It's 1 point. You learn that, and you can move on to another one.
That's so cool. You know, if you think about 5 minutes, it's not a very long amount of time. It's, you know, it goes by real fast, but you can take something solid away from that 5 minutes. You finish and you've learned something, and you're that much closer to fluency.
Right.
That's awesome. And Shayna was saying that her lessons are pretty short too. I think they're around 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, but I like the idea of having short, quick lessons because you can fit them in easily in your day. And you probably have a busy day, you know, if you're working, if you have a family, if maybe you like to do other stuff like go to the gym or walk outside or walk your dog or whatever, you know, and you could do this while you're walking your dog, for example.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How cool. Yeah.
And you asked before, like, how can somebody, like, what's a good approach?
Yeah.
Because the English Power Pack, like, I'm trying to study Japanese. That's my second language. And my God, if I could have all of this material in Japanese, like, what would I do? How would I study? And I've just done a really interesting social experiment on myself. Except for the Happy English Facebook page, I haven't looked at Facebook in a week. Last Saturday morning was the first time I used Facebook personally.
Wow. And
I found out that, like, on the train or waiting for a train, I've got so much more free time. So my advice is take 30% of your social media time, and instead of checking Facebook every 10 minutes, spend 5 minutes with something in the Power Pack. There's 7 teachers, right?
Let's see, six or 7. I always have to check. I think it's 6. No, hang on, yeah. Guys. This is embarrassing. Help me out here, because last time it was 7. Let me check. I'm checking our picture. We have a really cool picture on the front home page. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, including me.
So seven awesome English teachers, and a lot of different material. Just imagine as an English learner, and you get the Power Pack. You know what you're like? You're like a 5-year-old kid in a candy shop.
Yeah.
You're like a science fiction nerd at Comic-Con.
I love it.
That's it. Like, tell your friends you're not going out this weekend, and just stay home and study. That's what I would do.
That's awesome. I wish something like this existed for Japanese language learning, or for, Portuguese language learning, or other languages, because I'm kind of a language nerd as well, in a good way. I love learning languages. So I don't know, maybe you guys can let us know if there is, but I love this idea of bringing together a lot of different teachers and different products and being able to offer that to English learners. Because it's like, it's getting to try a bunch of different things. And you put it so well. It's like going to, how did you say? It was like going to a Comic-Con, or? Right.
It's like a science fiction nerd, a Star Trek fan going to Comic-Con.
Do you guys know, I'm talking to the viewers here, what Comic-Con is? I don't know if this exists in different countries, but like if you're into comic books or movies, and then it's a convention for people who enjoy comic books, and you can dress up as your favorite characters and do role playing. You can actually act like your favorite characters, and I guess it's a lot of fun. I've never been to one, but I have friends that really enjoy them. So I like that.
And you can, for the business people that are watching right now, it's like a trade show, but imagine a trade show with all of the cast of Star Wars and Star Trek and the Battlestar Galactica, and you can meet Captain Kirk and all the other famous starship captains there. I've never been to one either, but I have friends too who I'm going to be Darth Vader and I'm going to go check it out. So that's what it's like. And I think it's also great that there's 7 different teachers. Every teacher is a different style. Every learner, everybody watching this cast right now, you're all studying English. You have a different learning style. And so, you can really benefit from the different teaching styles and all the different materials of 7 different teachers at the same time. It's kind of like saying, you know what, I'm going to get lessons from 7 different people at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah, I wish there was like that in other languages. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the thing is, you can sample them and you don't have to commit to anything. It's not like a monthly membership. It's like a one-time thing, and it's a great value. I mean, I really can't tell you guys enough. Like, there's a ton of materials in the English Power Pack, and it's really exciting to be able to sample from 7 different teachers, 8 different products from 7 different teachers. So yeah. I think it's pretty awesome. So yeah, so what would be your advice for someone who's getting the whole English Power Pack? Do you think that they should start with whatever they're curious about, or start with a teacher that they want to know more about, or just whatever's convenient for them to start with?
I would say they should start with my product first.
Of course.
I would say rotate. I would say start with Gabby, and then move on to Shauna, and then move around the board like you're playing Monopoly. Like,
and you can do a little of each. You don't have to finish one before you go to the next. Right. It
might be fun to do one lesson from each teacher in a row, and then keep going in a circle like that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's good. So your product helps people with listening skills a lot, and idioms and slang and phrasal verbs and grammar. Right? I mean, right. What don't you help people with?
Reading. Oh no, but there's transcripts, so reading, speaking.
Well, then people could repeat after you. Do you ever ask your students to repeat after what you say in the podcast?
Yeah, we call that in teacher talk, that's called shadowing.
Yes.
And shadowing is a really great way to improve your fluency and help your thinking in English. Because you hear a sentence and then you're going to repeat that same sentence after the person spoke it. You have to really think quickly. So that's really, really great. That's really great training too.
And I have a question. This is just from myself. I should check the actual chat box questions, but I'm curious, do you teach your students a lot of New York English in particular, or is it like general English that they can use with anyone?
Yeah, no, I teach everyday useful
I would think so.
English. Yeah, because
like that's more helpful.
Absolutely. I started studying Japanese in 1990. It's a long time ago. And I've had a lot of language teachers and I've had a lot of language lessons, and some of them are really good and some of them were not useful. I learned the vocabulary for the word lawyer in Japanese, which is bengoshi, if you're interested. That was in the first unit of the first textbook I ever had 26 years ago. And I'll be honest, I probably have never used that word in a conversation in Japanese since then.
Interesting.
And so my approach to teaching is, if you come here and you're going to sit here and you're going to, we're going to have a lesson, or we're going to have a lesson online, or you're going to listen to my podcast or a YouTube video. If you can't use that, the next day, or someday soon after the class, then I've wasted your time.
And that's what Shayna was saying too with her lessons, is she shows people how to use phrasal verbs in conversation. It's not just a list of words, and you're not giving people just a list of words. You're actually showing them how to use it, right?
Right. Everything that I teach is always done through conversation. In fact, half of the audio that comes with about half of the audio that comes with the package here, the podcast, I have little dialogues with my little characters.
Oh my gosh.
From the podcast. And so I think it's good to learn things through a conversation, because that's how you learned your native language.
Yeah.
Every think about it. When you're a child, for the first 2 or 3 years of your life, you're just listening to your language, and then all of a sudden, by the time you're 2.5 or 3, you start speaking, and then by the time you're 3.5 to 4, you're fluent, and you've never seen a textbook in your life. It's just all been done through listening. And so of course, human babies it's on our DNA to do that. And as teenagers or adults, it's a little bit more difficult to learn a new language. But the listening is really important. And I think it's hard to learn a second language, especially as an adult. So you've got to learn things that are useful and practical. So here's the secret. I never use a textbook in a class.
Wow.
Because for me, the textbooks that are printed that they use in schools, those are good for beginners in a group class situation. But in a one-to-one class, I don't think it's useful, because what I do is I have my students write something every day. They send it to me, and then the lesson is based on their writing. So whatever we learn and whatever we practice and what our conversation is, it comes from my students' experience. And so when you learn something through your own experience, I think you can remember it better.
Definitely. And another thing that might help the English Power Pack learners to remember things better is I would be willing to bet that there's some overlap. For example, Shayna was talking about teaching the phrasal verb to get up in the morning. Like, what time do you get up in the morning? Now, I don't know. I haven't listened to all of your podcasts, but I bet you might talk about that phrasal verb, or you guys might have, similar, not that everything is the same, it's very different, but you might have some points that overlap. And that's actually a good thing, because hearing the same tips, the same lessons from different teachers and in different examples is going to help learners to remember. It's going to help you, the viewer, you guys who are watching, it's going to help you remember so much when you get that repetition and different examples.
That's right. And then the next step is, because you might learn that in her lesson, and then in one of my lessons, you might hear me say, I got up early this morning because I had to take Happy for a walk.
Yeah.
And then the next step is that you, the English learner, is going to say, yeah, well, I got up at 6 o'clock this morning, or I get up at 6 o'clock every single morning. And so I think that's, using whatever you're learning is going to help too.
Yeah. Hey, Lisa, welcome.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good.
Hello. Hi, Gabby. Hi, Michael.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
What time did you get up today?
Oh, gosh. What time did I get up today? Oh, I don't know. Probably 7 today, but I've had a really crazy schedule this past week. A lot of traveling back and forth between California and Washington. So it hasn't been a normal week for me.
Cool. Well, let me thank Michael for being here. And if you want to say any last words for the English Power Pack livecast viewers, please do, and then I'll interview Lisa.
All right, great. Yeah, no, what I do want to say is that, first of all, thank you, Gabby.
Yeah.
Because this is a really, really great opportunity to work with all of these amazing English teachers, and to have all this different material in one place where you can study and improve your English. That's awesome. So, and it's really fun to talk to you, Gabby, live here, live from New York, Friday afternoon. You guys have a great chat, and thanks so much for the opportunity, and I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks,
Okay.
Michael. See you
Thanks,
soon.
Michael. Bye, Michael.
How's it going, Lisa?
Hey, Gabby. It's going well. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's awesome to connect with you again.
Yeah.
You're
back in New York.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm in
All
New
right.
York for a week. I actually should probably go visit Michael. He's like right down the street. Funniest thing ever, because that never happens. I'm always
Definitely.
traveling
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of you.
all over the place. I'm gonna slow down in the next few months. I'm gonna be slowing down so I can get more stuff done. But it's been fun.
That's
Are you in Seattle right now?
I'm in Port Townsend, Washington, which is about 2 hours from Seattle. So it's just west. It's on the Olympic Peninsula. So it's a small town, not as big as Seattle. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I love that the teachers in the English Power Pack are from all different places. Like, we're all American. We're all native English speakers from the United States, from North America, but all different regions, all different cities.
Right.
So you guys are getting a good sampling of America in the English Power Pack.
That's true. The United States is a very big country, so when you're learning English, it can be kind of tricky to figure out, who's from where and what's the difference. So it's nice to get a good variety of people from different regions. They talk differently. We say things differently. We have different ways of expressing ourselves. So it's good.
Exactly. Yeah, different pronunciation, different slang. So I want to know more about you. I think our viewers are curious too, especially if they're not familiar with you. But we definitely have people. They've commented already saying like, "Oh, I like your website" or something. There was some comments earlier, and just to remind the viewers, if you have questions for Lisa, you can start typing them in right away because there's a little delay. And I would just like to know like more about you. How did you get started as an English teacher?
Okay, great. Well, let's see. A long time ago, so I graduated from UC Santa Cruz. I have actually a degree in politics.
Wow.
Political science. So it's very interesting what's happening during this election this year, this election time period. Lots of really interesting things happening. Yeah, which are great topics for English classes and for my podcasts. I've done several podcasts about the different things that are happening in the United States and our electoral system, how it works. So that's where I started off in my education. But I actually then went to become an elementary school teacher, a bilingual elementary school teacher, because I speak Spanish fluently. And so for many years, I was teaching in the public school system. I was working with mostly elementary school ages, but also with their parents, a lot of English language learners in the United States. So I was working in Fresno, California, where we had a large immigrant population, mostly from Mexico, but I taught students that were from Laos and Cambodia, Vietnam, Russia. So I worked with a lot of students from a lot of different countries in my beginning years of teaching, but they were mostly children, so in the public school system. And then I moved up to Washington, and I did a lot of variety of things, mostly online businesses. And just a couple of years ago, I got back into education, and so I wanted to do something online with my experience of creating websites and doing things online with my education background. And I was inspired actually by all the various teachers that are online and bringing all this great material to students from around the world. And so I decided to put my 2 cents in and start a website. And I created English Fluency Now. And it started with just a podcast. So just doing a podcast, putting it up on iTunes, and making some lesson guides to go along to help the listeners who needed more guidance. Of course, I think everybody has already talked about how important listening is to learning a language. And so I was providing good listening material, interesting material through the podcast, and then through the lesson guides, a little bit more teaching through the material. And then I created the Success with Stories, which is a kind of a big package. It's over 400 pages, PDF pages. It's nearly 20 hours of listening material, so it can keep you busy for a while.
Seriously, I am amazed at how many lessons, how much material there is in the English Power Pack. I mean, if the viewer gets the English Power Pack, there's 7 teachers, 8 products. If you focus on one course a month, I mean, you would have more than enough for the rest of the year. And I think that's reasonable because that's a lot of material.
It's a lot of material. Yeah.
I mean, wow, that would
it's a super deal.
Yeah.
It's a super deal.
My mind is blown, kind of an expression. I don't know if it's going to be a familiar expression, but it means that I can't believe how much material, how many awesome lessons. And it's not just fluff. It's not like boring lessons. It's not stuff you're not going to use. This is the stuff that you want to learn. Like in your Success with Stories, you're teaching in a natural way, ways that people are going to actually hear the language and use English, right?
Yeah, I can explain. My methodology for the Success with Stories is actually based on something called teaching proficiency through reading and storytelling. And it's actually used in public schools throughout the United States and around the world to teach a foreign language. So it could be to teach Spanish to English speakers or whatever. But what I like about it and why I think it's a really effective method is because it just taps into our natural, I think it's very human to want to tell each other stories and to listen to stories. And I was listening to Michael say that, children learn through conversation. Yes, that's true. Talking. I have 3 children myself. We do a lot of talking in my house, but also storytelling. And, what happened today? You're telling the story. What did you do this last week? You're telling the story of what you were doing. And I think that's a very effective method for students, especially to learn the harder verb tenses and correctly, how to use them correctly. You want to tell somebody what you did this past weekend or what you did on vacation. It's telling a story. And so my product, the Success with Stories, uses stories as the main text. And then from there, we pull out various things that you can do with that. So of course it's listening. You get all the transcripts. So it's reading, vocabulary building. And the unique thing about it, which is part of this method, is we call it like a question and answer. Okay. And to do it as a self-learner, you're listening to a recording. You don't have a teacher live in a class, but you're listening to the recording. And then after you've listened to the story, I'm asking you questions pertaining to the story. And this is where you get speaking practice. So it's actually a way that you can get speaking practice, not just shadowing, like I heard you mention before, which is great, also a great method, but actually responding. So yeah, so there's a part of the lesson for each lesson set. You get a question and answer lesson. So you've listened to the story, you've learned the vocabulary, I've explained a lot of things. I've explained phrasal verbs or expressions that I've used in the stories. And then it's your turn to actually speak. So, you can do it while you're walking or you can do it at home, but you're listening to me and I'm asking you a question, what did this guy do? And the idea is for you to automatically answer. Yep. That's the idea. So you're kind of engaging with me on the audio, but as the learner, you're providing the response, and your goal is to do it automatically. If you need more time, you can stop the audio, but if you can do it automatically, that's the goal.
Well, and it's cool that it's an audio file, because if you need to go back, rewind, listen again, you might not feel comfortable responding right away the first time. I mean, you could try, but if you want to go back and listen again and then respond when you feel more comfortable with the story, you have that convenience, because these are downloadable lessons. They're files that you can keep forever. And just to be clear, when you say that students can respond to you, they're responding on their own with your audio guide. These are not live lessons. These are not like Skype lessons. Right. But it's really great that you can practice on your own time with all of these materials. And actually, I think that the English Power Pack is a really great companion for if you do want to take online lesson or in-person lesson with a teacher. It's great to bring these materials or to study them on your own. You're going to progress really fast, but you don't need to take additional lessons. You could self-study. You could be an independent learner, like we talked about with Kevin, and learning how to be a good learner, learning how to be an independent learner.
Yeah.
So I love that you're teaching with stories, because it's so fun to just relax and listen and have fun with stories. For me, stories are fun.
Yeah, stories are great. It's a very effective way because it's a natural way. I mean, it's just like you watch movies, you read books. These are all stories. So we love stories, and we usually love stories about people. And so I have 20 stories in the product, and so they actually are a little bit leveled. So you start off with a lower level, something that's a little bit easier, and then they progress in terms of the complexity of the text, the complexity of the vocabulary that I'm using in the stories.
Let me ask you a question, because one of, let's see, Vanusa is saying that we're speaking very fast. So in your stories, do you speak about the same as we're speaking now, or how is the rate of the lesson? What is the level like?
Yeah, I would say that I speak more slowly in the product. And of course, but I'm not speaking really slowly. I want to, it's a natural speed, but in conversation, between two native speakers, we often can get very fast.
Yeah, exactly. And we're excited.
We're excited. Yeah. So my lessons are at a normal speaking speed, maybe like if you're listening to somebody give a TED talk or, presenting some kind of information. So they're not as fast maybe as we're speaking now. But you have the transcript for everything, including the questions. And what I like about it also, when I'm doing the question and answer, you have the opportunity as the listener to give your response. And then I give you a sample, 1 or 2 responses, how I would respond to it. Because it's really important in language learning, there's not one right answer. I think I heard you, maybe it was with Kevin. When we want to greet each other, we can say, hey, what's up? How's it going? What's shaking? We can say a million different things. So as a learner, it's really great to be exposed to this natural way of interacting that natives do. And I'm a language learner myself. And that's what I'm always looking for, is how do people really talk, and what do they really say when they see each other, or when they go to a restaurant together? How do they really order bread, in the bakery? And how do they interact with the baker? It's not just, hi, I'll have a loaf of bread, like we might say, oh, so how's it going? And what have you been doing lately? And,
Totally. I have this experience too. And I admire your language learning, because I'm always, seeing you say, oh, I'm learning French, I'm learning Portuguese, oh, I'm learning Spanish. It's so cool to watch. And I totally agree. The way that I like to learn language and the way I like to teach English is how people really use it. And I was just in Brazil, and I noticed that people were ordering in a restaurant in a different way than I had ever learned in any textbook.
Course or something. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what we're trying to do, I think, with all of our lessons and with the English Power Pack, is like to link what you already know in English with real world English.
Yes.
And how people really talk.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I also wanted to say something else related to that, because all language learners have different motivations for why they're learning the language. So a lot of people, as you mentioned before during this live cast, some people need it for traveling, for pleasure, because it's a hobby. I have a lot of people, I just love English. I just want to learn English, But a lot of people are needing it for work, for study, to come to the United States, to go to school. And so I actually do teach online as well. I produce the podcast and some products, but I also teach almost every day with students. And And so I have a lot of students who are needing to pass the TOEFL exam or the IELTS exam. So they actually need a higher level English than just a basic daily conversational. And so what I like to provide in my stories too, I am teaching them higher level vocabulary. So it's useful. It's not stuff you're never going to come across, but it is a little bit of a higher level. So it's for intermediate and advanced students who need to come to the United States and actually live and work in the United States or in English somewhere. So I think that's an important distinction too, because some learners just need conversational. They just want to go and travel. But some learners, they really need that academic vocabulary, that higher level ability to speak about something like, I don't know, psychology or science or math or something. And so I work a lot with those students as well.
That's great. I think that the level of the English Power Pack is good for intermediate learners, but
yes,
if you think it might be a little bit too challenging, one thing I can say is that you can get it now, you can download it, you can keep it, and maybe in 6 months it will be better for you, for your level. If you think it's too easy, I don't think it's too easy because there's a ton of materials. I really don't think it's too easy unless you're a native speaker. I mean, this is not for native speakers. This is for learners. So we want to help you to understand real world English. And there's so much to learn between pronunciation and slang and idioms and phrasal verbs. I think that there's a real wealth of information in the English Power Pack. And when I say wealth of information, I mean a lot of lessons.
Yeah. And I think that's really great from my personal point of view. Like you've mentioned, I've learned Spanish, I've studied French, most recently was Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, and I'm never satisfied with just one course. I mean, I need a lot of different courses, a lot of different materials, because every native speaker has their own way of presenting the material. Every native speaker who is in this business of providing materials for learners, they focus on something different. So like Rachel's really into the pronunciation, and that's really important, but it's not the only thing. And so it's really tough to think that you're just going to buy one product and that's all you need for your language learning materials. You need a lot of different variety, and it's great that you've been able to bring all of these entrepreneurs together to offer our products at this really amazing low price. And you're setting somebody up, a learner up for, like we said, almost a year's worth probably of materials. And if you get bored with one because you're like, okay, listen to a lot of stories, I want to focus on my pronunciation now, go to Rachel's or with Shayna or somebody, and you're going to be happy because they're all high quality.
Right. So, no, it's really a pleasure to bring everyone together and to offer the English Power Pack as something with a lot of value, very affordable for what you're getting for 1 week.
Yeah.
And like you said, it could keep you busy from 6 months to a year, depending on how much time and how much focus and energy you put into the English Power Pack. But it's a lot of materials. I have a question here. I think it's for you about how to use your success with stories. And you talked about it a little bit, but maybe you could talk a little bit more about how to use it. After you download it, what do you do?
Okay. You'll have audio files. So those are MP3 files. You can keep them on your laptop, your desktop, or a lot of people like to be on the move. So, download those to your phone or your iPod or something. And you can also have the transcripts. Some people need the transcripts. Some people actually don't need the transcripts as much. So the way it's set up is we have some introductory lessons where I'm explaining things about how to use the product, how to practice with the materials. I go over some pronunciation and some grammar explanations. But the real meat of the product, the real important part of the product, are the lesson sets. So each lesson set has the story, and so you just listen to the story, and the story can be anywhere from 3, I think the longest one's maybe 8 minutes long, so 2 or 3 minutes story, or up to 5, 6 minutes long. And so they're funny stories. So the methodology is not just telling a story, but telling a funny story, something that helps you remember. So the first one is like Cats in Love. It's about cats who are in love, and then they kind of partner up with different people because they fall in love with another cat, you know.
Cute.
So it's cute. It's you know, brain research shows that you get bored if something is too predictable or something. So you need something that's going to wake you up. So the stories have something funny, something emotional, a twist, something ridiculous, you know, something that's going to help you remember what the story is about. It's just not a plain, boring story. Okay.
Cool.
And then the next part of the lesson is vocabulary. So out of the story, I've chosen certain vocabulary words, whether they're nouns or adjectives or verbs, phrasal verbs or expressions, and I explain them. So you have the transcript, but I'm talking to you, you know, as if we were just sitting here. And I explain verbally how, what it means, what the vocabulary means, what the expression means, and how it's used in this context. And sometimes I give you some examples of another way to use it. So you could use this expression in another way. So that lesson's really meaty. It has a lot of information, and those are usually like 40 to an hour long lessons. So you could maybe do it in one sitting, but you could also do it over a week-long period. It's a lot of material to help you, and it just depends on what level you're at. If you need to listen to it multiple times, how you want to use to study. Then the question and answer comes, and that's another probably 30-minute long lesson where I'm going and you're active. So you're listening and you're answering. You're listening, then you're answering. So you get a lot of speaking practice there. And then actually the final part of each lesson is a retelling of the story from a different point of view. Now the purpose of that is to allow the learner to learn how to use grammar naturally. So maybe I'm retelling it in the past tense. Maybe I'm telling it in the future tense, like from a character or from a different character's point of view. And so it's still the same story, same topic, but it might, be like what happened 10 years later, or how did this play out? So I'm using different verb tenses, some different grammar structures, and it's a natural way of learning. And so that's why it's really, I think, very powerful and effective, and helps you become more fluent in a natural way. It's not study like, okay, fill in the blank with the past tense of this, and how do I use had been or has been, it's all just natural. Yeah.
Well, I think that's very important, because that's the way that we learn, by getting a lot of, well, the teacher word would be inputs, right? By getting a lot of things to listen to, by having a lot of exposure to English. And you're not going to get that in a textbook or in a more traditional classroom where you're learning from a textbook. What we're doing with the English Power Pack, and I know everyone who's part of it has this style of teaching that's trying to connect adult learners with the real world, how we really speak English and how you're going to really hear English. So it's not about, you're not going to get a grade. We're not giving you a grade on your lessons. And that might be something different for you. So the person who asked about how to use it, you might be wondering, well, how do I do this? It's so different than my traditional classroom. Maybe. Oh,
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I see. Maybe you're used to high school English classes or college English classes or even private language classes. And I know you and Shayna said something about she gives feedback, and Michael has his English school. So, there's ways to sign up for online lessons. The English Power Pack isn't a live lesson, but if you're just using the English Power Pack, you can still learn from it, even though you're not getting a grade, right?
Absolutely. This is really important. First, let me just say that when a person becomes a Success with Stories member, when you purchase the English Power Pack, you're going to be also invited to join my private Facebook group, which is where people who have purchased the product before can ask me any question related to the product or just related to English, or it's just a forum where people can practice their English, interact with each other, make plans to talk on Skype, whatever. But what I want to address here with you is really this idea that we're providing really first-class materials, but they are for learners who have an idea of how to use materials. And so I think it's a really important thing that as adults especially, we kind of decide why am I learning English? And I talk about this a lot in my in the kind of the introduction to Success with Stories, because I really want to make it clear to people this is a self-study module, and it's really up to you. You have complete choice. And how do you know that you're successful? Well, you have to interact with the materials. Did you answer quickly, and did it come easy? If you didn't, you're still learning. You still need to keep practicing. And if you want to work with an online teacher, that's great, because online teachers can always give you feedback, and you can always be testing yourself. But if you can't work with a teacher, you need to figure out how do you assess yourself, because assessment is actually a really important thing. You can just talk to yourself like, okay, how would I be describing my day right now in English to somebody? You have to test yourself, and you have to be your own teacher to say, yeah, you got it right, you're doing well, or you actually don't really know how to explain what happened last night to somebody in English. And then you go like, what do I need to know how to do that? I need to figure out the verb tense perhaps, or I need to learn some more vocabulary. So as a person who's learning English mostly on their own, using materials, you have to be really responsible and kind of know what your goals are and where you're headed, and how to check in with yourself. Like I know you are speaking Portuguese in Brazil. Yeah. And so it's a little bit easier maybe when you're in Brazil, like you go to a restaurant and right then you're going to know, did I know how to order correctly, or what did I do right, or what do I need to learn? But even at home, you can test yourself, and do I really know how to tell my friend that I need to go to the doctor and get a shot or whatever? Like you know if you know how to say that or not.
Well, I don't know if some of the English learners who are watching, if you've had this experience, but sometimes I've taken online English lessons and felt kind of nervous because I don't know what we're going to talk about. I don't know what I'm studying, and I don't know if I have enough to talk about during a half an hour lesson or however long my lesson is. So if you have the English Power Pack materials, you have plenty of stuff to work with.
Perfect. And teachers, personally, as a teacher, I love when an adult student, I work with teenagers also, so I provide more guidance for them, but I love when adult students come to a lesson knowing what they want to learn, and we can just get down to business so much quicker, more quickly, and then we can just start talking about whatever needs to be talked about, whatever they want to learn. When somebody knows what they want to learn and they have some materials, I'm working with this story, I'm working with my pronunciation. Shana has this lesson. I actually have, before I leave, I just want to give a shout out to Shana, because I'm more familiar with Shana's materials, because I do have students who come to my lessons with some materials from Shana, and they're great materials, and they read them out loud to me, we discuss them. It's really helpful, and those students are well prepared.
Awesome.
That's great.
Well,
yeah,
I see Vanessa's here.
Hi, Vanessa.
Excited to talk to you. Hi, Vanessa. Lisa, thank you so much for coming and for
thank you, Gabby.
Yeah, for telling us more about you and your product, and we're excited to have you as part of the English Power Pack.
Glad to be a part of all this great group of teachers, and thank you again to Gabby for putting it together. I know you're working hard to help English language learners out there. It's a great deal, and so I hope a lot of people take advantage of it.
Awesome.
Okay, Vanessa, I'll let you guys talk.
See you later, Lisa. Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye. Take care.
Hey, Vanessa.
Hi, how's it going?
So good to meet you.
I know, this is great.
Yeah, we've been talking for a while online, and I don't think we've ever done a video hangout together.
Yeah, this is the first time we've been in contact, but I'm really happy to meet you and meet all the other awesome people who are watching this.
Yes. Oh, how exciting. Very cool. Well, I'm excited to get to know more about you, how you became a teacher, more about your product too. I know everyone watching is really excited to get to know you, and I just want to remind people who are watching, if you have questions for Vanessa, you can start typing them in the chat box right now. If you have questions about, her formation as a teacher, or about her lessons, or even questions about English, we'll try to answer as many as we can in the half hour that we have together. So Awesome. Well, let's get started. Vanessa, you're part of the English Power Pack, but this is not the first time you've ever taught English, of course. Tell us a little bit about how you got started as an English teacher. What was your journey?
Sure. Well, my journey started about 6 years ago when I started as an English teacher in the US for American students. So that wasn't necessarily teaching grammar or teaching ESL to non-native speakers, but that got me started thinking about the learning process and helping give something that I'm passionate about to other people. So that was the beginning, and then I went to France and helped some kids learn, and then moved to Korea and taught all different ages there. And I think the interest just grew and grew over time, and now we're here online.
That's amazing. So you started out, of course, you are from the US, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're a native English speaker from the United States. And where are you from, by the way?
I was born in the north in Pennsylvania, but I spent most of my life in South Carolina in the south, and now I live in North Carolina.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So let's piece this together. You were teaching American students about English, like English literature?
Yeah, we did a lot of reading and presentations and projects. I think this is kind of where my ideas about not following the book started, because when I got the materials from that school that I was supposed to teach 9th, 10th, 11th graders who are like 15, 16 years old, I realized that this stuff is not at all what they're interested in. How can I make this fun or interesting or real to them? And I think that was a really cool process to see how they reacted to some of the different things that I tried. Not everything succeeded, but it was just cool to try new things with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have one question that I just thought was really cute. They want to know, let's see, I can't read the name. I think it's in Russian, but where is your cat, Vanessa? Do you have a cat?
I have 3 cats, yes. Yeah, well, I have live lessons twice a week on Facebook, so my cats are always jumping in the screen. They always want my attention, but now they're in the other room, probably sleeping. It's pretty hot today.
Boo!
Yeah, they'll probably be running around and be crazy around midnight.
Oh, okay. So they're night owls, I guess.
Yes, they are definitely night owls and early birds. 5, 6 a.m., they're up again.
Wow, crazy,
yeah.
crazy
Do you have any pets now?
No, I've been traveling so much that I can't have a pet right now, but I would love to have a little dog. I think once I get settled down a bit, maybe a puppy's in the future.
Oh, in the future. That's one of the good things about being in one place for a while. It's great to travel, but it's good to have some little animals to cuddle with.
Yeah, I envy you. That's great.
Yes. Oh, interesting question.
Yeah. So back to your teaching life. You were teaching in the US and then you went to France. That sounds interesting. Was that part of a program, or you just wanted to go to France, or?
Yeah, it was kind of two-sided. I wanted to improve my French in a more natural situation. So I was an au pair, which means I was like a nanny or babysitter, and I lived with a French family. And it was my job to teach their kids English, and kind of like an exchange. They spoke English or French with me because they didn't speak English. So it was a good exchange, and I think it was an interesting way to see really that this natural method definitely works. Before me, the kids had never heard any English. And I remember the first time that I opened my mouth and said something like, "Oh, do you want to play outside?" Their eyes almost exploded, like, "Mom, what is she saying? What is this?" And
she's an alien.
But over time, they felt more and more comfortable. And one day, I remember I said to the little girl, she was 5 or 6 years old then, the bath is ready when you're ready. And her dad said, "Oh, what did Vanessa say? You need to take a bath." And the little girl said, "Oh no, she said that I can come when I'm ready." She understood exactly what I said. I felt so happy. So this method works. Absolutely. Keep up listening to native speakers. You can do it.
Yeah, well, I love that. I love that all of us as part of the English Power Pack, that we're really into natural English, the way that you hear it in the real world, the way that you want to use it so people understand you, and just what you're actually needing to know. So we'll get back to that, but I want to know a little bit more about how did you go from France to Korea?
Oh, yes. Well, the journey to Korea was actually pretty smooth. I had a couple friends who were a year older than me in college, and they taught English in Korea. One of them is actually Korean American, so she was kind of one of the first to go, and I talked with them about their experience. And after France, I kind of had the travel bug. I was addicted to traveling, so I heard about their great experiences. They helped my husband and I get a job there, and we went. It was pretty smooth and stayed for 3 years.
Wow, 3 years. That's awesome.
Yeah. And there's just a great transition from that lifestyle to being online, still talking with people who are living around the world, connecting with other cultures. I think it can be pretty challenging to live somewhere else and then come back home to your home country. But I think this kind of lifestyle is a pretty easy transition. I'm still contacting people and in that world.
And when did you come back to the US to live?
It's been about 1.5 years now, so not too long, maybe now 2 years, about 2 years. That was August 2 years ago.
Okay, and then did you start your website, Speak English with Vanessa, after you came back to the US?
I started it the last couple months that I was in Korea. So just putting up the website, and I wasn't steady in one place for a couple months. We did some volunteer work on farms in Europe and then traveled around the US a little bit and finally settled here. So when we got this location, a more steady, stable life, I decided, okay, I can commit to creating information and teaching lessons. So that's about when it happened.
Great. I just shared your website, speakenglishwithvanessa.com, in the chat box in case you guys want to check it out. Vanessa has a great website there. So I love learning about your journey. I think it's really interesting to see people's paths, the roads that we go down. So
definitely. It seems like everyone's found the passion of this lifestyle. It is a job, but it's also something that you can feel passionate about. I think we've all found it in different ways, but there's probably some common threads.
Yeah, well, I just love how we're all teaching online, and it allows us to do stuff like this, like an online live cast. You wouldn't have this in a traditional classroom. It's unheard of.
No way. I heard earlier Lisa talking about how it's great to use material from a variety of teachers, and that's definitely something you can't do in the classroom. You're just waiting for the school to give you the material, and you hope your teacher is going to be nice or good, and your classmates are going to be nice, but this is completely up to you. It's your choice, the teachers and the materials. So this is a really cool opportunity.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about, how you're involved in the English Power Pack. Of course, I've been talking to you for a long time. I've been watching your website grow and your presence online grow. And you have a YouTube channel and a podcast too, right? Or tell.
At the moment, I have a YouTube channel and I have a Facebook page, but there's not a podcast yet. That might be in the future.
Well, great. And I love what you're doing. I love how you're teaching. And, I'm so happy that you're part of the English Power Pack. And I want to share with people who are watching exactly what you are contributing to the Power Pack and how it's unique and what they can expect once they buy the English Power Pack, which will be on sale from June 27th to July 4th, coming up very soon.
Yes, coming up soon. What is that now? 3 days? Probably.
3 days. Where's that counter?
Less than 3 days almost.
Yes, 3 days, 7 hours if you're watching this live.
Oh, great. I love watching the counter. It's so fun. It's coming closer.
It is.
Yes. So the course that I'm contributing to the Power Pack is called the 50 Natural English Expressions course. And the title's pretty clear. You're going to learn 50 natural English expressions, but the reason why I chose specifically these 50 expressions is because I felt like in my private lessons with students, I was explaining or correcting some of the same expressions or mistakes over and over again. And these are expressions that either students try to use, but they use it incorrectly, or they just don't know, but we use all the time. So this is a mix of expressions that are learned from over 2,000 hours of teaching private lessons and correcting students and giving feedback and trying to find the common errors that a lot of students make. And I think these expressions too are going to help them to not sound like an English learner necessarily. So some of these expressions might seem like words they already know. Some of them are going to be completely new. Some of them might be words they already know, but I wanted to emphasize that we use this word more than another word that they already know. So trying to explain why their English sounds different than our English or than the English from TV shows. So these are 50 MP3 lessons that will help them to sound really natural.
I love that because it makes a big difference when you have the right phrases. And I think that when you learn English in a traditional classroom, you learn phrases that might be a little outdated, like old, or phrases that people used to use, but they don't use anymore. And it makes you sound old-fashioned or like you're learning English, but you actually don't really know how to use it naturally. Like one really simple example is when I was teaching in Japan, and it might have been the same. I don't know if you've heard this from your students, but they would greet me and say, or no, I would greet them. I would say, "Hi, how are you?" or "How's it going?" And they would say, "I am fine, thank you. And you?" It's not incorrect. It's grammatically correct, right? But we don't say that, do we?
We definitely don't say that. There's such a variety of ways you can respond to that or other natural ways. And maybe they've heard it, but they don't know that we use that much more than "I'm fine, and you?"
Yes, it's so proper. It sounds very formal. And maybe people use this sometimes. Maybe it's more of a British thing. I'm not sure. I had one British speaker say, "Well, I say I'm fine. How are you?" But honestly, I haven't heard that in a long time. So I think everybody speaks in their own way, but it's important to know how to be who you want to be in English. Like, you don't have to be old-fashioned.
Yeah, you want your own personality to show. You want to be able to be true to yourself. So I think that's the good thing too about the Power Pack is maybe some students will feel more comfortable with the way Michael speaks or the way that I speak or the way you speak, and that way they can find their own personality through that style of teaching. That's a cool way to mix all the different teachers together.
I love it because it's really good to learn from different people. Like you're saying, I mean, I might use certain phrases more. You might use different phrases more. Michael might use some different phrases. And we're all teaching general English, natural English, not like specific English, like English for doctors. Like, it's not specific for, that kind of thing, like one profession. It'll help you to be fluent in a variety of situations. So I wonder, maybe people want to know about the format of the 50 natural expressions. Is it video? Is it audio? Is it text? Or what is it like?
Sure, I'll explain. There's two different parts. There are MP3 files. So each lesson is an MP3 file that you can download. And there's also a transcript that goes with each one so that you can follow it and make sure that you catch each expression. And each MP3 file for each expression, I'm going to teach at the beginning some common mistakes that I saw with that expression or the reason why I included it so that you can avoid those things. And then I'll go on to explain briefly how to use it in the positive, negative, and question form. And then we'll have a short story that uses it in different verb tenses, that uses it in different situations so that by the time you finish that lesson, you've heard it repeated again and again, And you can repeat that little story again and again and try to retell it and use it in our private Facebook group and interact with it in different ways.
I love that you include lots of examples.
I try my best. That's so much more interesting than reading just one and moving on and asking questions. What about this situation? What about this?
It makes you more confident when you see lots of examples.
Definitely. And if students listen to the lessons and have any questions about it or want to use it too, I also have the private Facebook group for members of the course. So they can contact me there and ask questions. It's really active. We're always filming videos around town. Members are always sharing things. So it's a really secure, safe place to use what you're learning.
That sounds great. I love that people can ask you questions or interact there. It's, you know, the English Power Pack is downloadable and you can use it anytime on your own, but it's really nice to have that support. If people have questions or if they want to practice a little bit, that's a great thing that you mentioned, your Facebook group, and they can keep in touch with you that way too.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a community around you because sometimes when we're not learning in the classroom, you can feel kind of alone or lost, or you're not sure if this is the right way. So when you're in a community, even if it's just a virtual digital community, you still feel like you've got support. Like just yesterday, there's a woman, I'm not sure if she's here or not, but she just finished some cancer treatments and she's been posting throughout her cancer treatment about her experience and how it's been going. And she recently said she finished and we had a huge just online celebration for her, everyone wishing her the best, and we celebrate birthdays. It's just a nice way to feel connected.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that so much. The community is so important, and being able to connect with people. That's really why we're learning English, right? Is to be able to connect and communicate.
Yeah. And I think personally for me too, on a selfish level, I think it's good for me too to feel like I know that this material is helping people, because if someone just downloaded it and then that was it, I might not get the feedback that I need to know this is the right way, this is actually helping people. So when I see comments online or when I see people in the group saying positive things, I know, oh, great, my time was well spent, I did the right thing, this is really helping people. So I think that's helpful for me too.
I'm looking at the questions here in the chat box, and you guys are welcome to ask questions. We just have a few more minutes left with Vanessa, but I have a question from Reginaldo. I hope I'm saying that right. So what does Vanessa think is most important when learning English? This is a big question. I think you've talked about it a little bit, like being natural, learning how people really talk, but what do you think is the most important when you're learning?
Whew, that is probably one of the biggest questions possible.
I know.
I guess to answer this, you have to give also a big answer, which is, I think the most important thing is overcoming your fear of using English, because once you overcome that, you're going to easily improve pronunciation and expressions. But like when I talk with a lot of students, the first thing they say is, I'm so nervous, I can't believe I'm speaking English right now. And then after a few minutes, they feel much more comfortable. So that's the biggest thing, I think, when you're starting is just feeling more confident. And it's a big thing. I think we've got a lot of difficult experiences in our past with language classes and big red X's on our test papers. So we have to get over that and realize making mistakes is completely natural.
Totally. And it's actually a good thing to make a mistake, because that means you're trying and you're using English. It's not a good thing to always make the same mistake over and over and over, but that's why we're here to help English learners, right?
Yeah. And I think that's something too in the 50 expressions course that some students, as they're listening to it, might say, oh, I do say this incorrectly, or, oh, I am using this wrong. And it's not going to make their conversation terrible if they use it in the wrong way, but now that they know how to use it correctly, they'll feel more confident. Like, I know that I'm using the natural expression that native speakers use. So it helps with that confidence.
That's great. I see another question here. Maybe you talk a little bit about Yoanil is asking, are her lessons free? So what do you offer people for free versus what is paid? And just before you answer, the English Power Pack is a paid product. Right now, we're doing this live cast for free because it's fun to introduce all the teachers to you guys and to get to know each other. But the English Power Pack is worth over $400 US, and we're selling it next week for $97 US. So it's a very good value. And I'll talk more about that after Vanessa's time. But let me ask you, Vanessa, what are your free things, or what is not free?
Sure, that's a great question. And for me, I like to offer both things because there's a lot of great things you can learn for free. And it's also great to have paid things that are more organized. You have more support from me. So for free, I offer YouTube videos. Those come out every Tuesday and Friday. And I also have live Facebook lessons every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, the New York Standard Time, and just on my Facebook page, Speak English with Vanessa. And I have a newsletter that comes out twice a week. That's Tuesday and Friday. So those are the free things. I think that's about it. And the paid things are the course that's included in this Power Pack, 50 Natural English Expressions. And I've got a couple other courses as well on my website. So there's a little bit of both for people who are interested.
Great. So one thing to keep in mind for you guys who are watching is that the courses that are part of the English Power Pack are different prices, but it's a much better price to buy everything together. Some of the courses are some of them are up to $97 just individually. So by buying the English Power Pack, you're getting 8 products for the price of 1 or 2, depending on which products you're looking at.
Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. If you bought just one of those, you're going to pay almost the same amount. Or for mine, you're just paying $20 or $30 more, and you get 7 more courses. It's ridiculous. So yeah, this is a really cool chance.
Yeah, I like that word. It's ridiculous.
It is a ridiculous deal.
Yeah, I love that. Let's see. Okay, so Ioanila's kind of asking the same thing. I just want to know if Vanessa has live free lessons. You said on Tuesdays and Thursdays you do some Facebook videos, yeah?
Yes, so this is a time when I'm live and students can comment while I'm live. And usually I've got a topic, like we're going to talk about getting older, or we're going to talk about movies. And if students have other questions, they can ask me then. I might or might not have time to answer them, but they can interact and learn new vocabulary. So yeah, that's a good way to connect.
That's great. A lot of the questions here have been asking about how to use the English Power Pack, because it's kind of, well, it's a great value, but it could be kind of overwhelming getting so many lessons. So in your product, you have the 50 phrases. Is there a certain way that you recommend to use them or to study? Like how many minutes per day, or I don't know, do you have any recommendations?
Yes, so with the Power Pack, when you download it, you'll also get a PDF that's called Start Here, How to Use the 50 Expressions course. Pretty basic title, but this is a probably 3-page PDF with an outline, some suggested uses, and then my specific recommendations. So I wanted to really give you a clear way to know how to use it, because even just with 50 expressions, it's still a lot of material, let alone with the Power Pack completely, that's a lot more. So I think this will help students to see specifically what to do with the 50 expressions and know that they're using it in a way that I recommend.
Great. You know, it's really a good thing to be able to select the materials that you want to learn. Like if you're curious about natural expressions today, but tomorrow you want to focus on pronunciation, you can do that. You can jump from one course to the other, or you can focus all on 50 natural expressions for maybe a month or maybe a few weeks, however long you want, and then go to the next course. So sometimes it's difficult when I just tell my students, oh, do whatever you want. I know some people prefer to have a guide, but I think that just starting where you're curious is a really good place to start.
Yeah, that's always the best place. And then because you have the rest of the material already, you can leave that and go to the next thing and then come back to it. It is really flexible, which is an awesome thing.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
Just checking for any other questions here.
Well, if there are not any other questions, I wanted to show something.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, I won't tell. You show.
So on my Facebook Live lesson, I showed the box of what I made because the English Power Pack is kind of July 4th themed.
Yes.
Which is American Independence Day, red, white, and blue. I have my red shirt today. So while I was walking around the grocery store a couple days ago, I saw this.
Ooh, White House cookie.
White House cookie kit. Usually I would never buy something like this, but I thought this is what I'm gonna do for the live cast with Gabby because it's July 4th themed. Why not? So I assembled this cookie kit quite carefully, as carefully as possible with 3 cats jumping around. And I wanted to show the final products. I know some people are looking forward to it. I've carefully stored it behind my computer. All right, this is the final product.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
So I didn't make the cookie, but I put it together and decorated it with some white icing. And here there's 2 people in the window, and that's you and me.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Or maybe we're sneaking in the window, I'm not sure. And some other English learners here at the White House with us.
You guys, this is so cute. I love this White House you made.
And on the back, there's the back side of the White House. The hardest part was cutting out these thin pillars.
Wow.
It wasn't exactly straightforward. And at the top, oh no, someone fell off the White House.
Oh no.
So at the top here is the flag made of little candies.
That is amazing. And
Yes.
it's a beautiful American flag. You did such a nice job. It's beautiful.
Great. Well, I hope this adds some Independence Day spirit to our Power Pack week.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're part of it. Thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, me too. Thanks so much for having me. Maybe now I'm going to eat the White House.
I was going to ask, what are you going to do with it?
I'm not sure. We thought about a lot of different things, so we'll see.
Well, it looks awesome. So thanks so much for coming, and I can't wait to see you more inside the English Power Pack.
Yes, thanks so much. I'm glad to be here, and I think I'm going to figure out how to leave.
Sounds good.
Great. See you later, Gabby. See you later, everyone else.
Bye. All right, so that was awesome. Vanessa had an incredible surprise, a cookie White House. If you guys didn't know, the White House is the head of the government in the US, and her cookie White House was the perfect way to celebrate the 4th of July together. I love that so much. That was awesome. So now it's my turn. I'm Gabby from Go Natural English, and I've organized the English Power Pack. That's why I'm here hosting our live cast today, talking with all the different teachers who are part of it. We had Shayna from Espresso English, then Kevin from Feel Good English, then Michael from Happy English, Lisa from English Fluency Now, and we just spoke with Vanessa from Speak English with Vanessa. And so I am wrapping up our live cast today. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about me, about Go Natural English, and about the English Power Pack. I am so excited. This live cast has been so much fun, and I really don't want it to end. But let me introduce myself. I'm Gabby. And about 5 years ago, I was teaching English in Japan, and I was teaching professionals who worked at a pharmaceutical company. So they were adult English learners, and they had a lot of questions, but not a lot of time. So I wanted to help them. I wanted to help them with their English. So I started making videos, just short 5-minute videos to answer their questions about English fluency. And I put these videos on YouTube, and that's how I started the Go Natural English YouTube channel. So let me put that in the chat box. And I love the comment. I just saw here, everyone who buys the EPP gets a piece of the White House, the cookie White House. Let me actually take you guys with me for a second. I need to plug in my computer. I don't want it to die before I finish here. So bear with me. Here we go. Grabbing my power cord. And here we are. Okay, you can see my camera over there. I took a break from making YouTube videos to do the live cast today. But like I was saying, I have the YouTube channel, Go Natural English. And from there, I had a lot of questions from my YouTube viewers, and they wanted to have more English lessons with me. So I created the website, gonaturalenglish.com. I'll show you, and in case you want to check out what I do on my own. So gonaturalenglish.com is my website, and I'm really happy to share that with you so you can see more of what I do. Basically, everything I do comes from my experience working with my classroom English learners 5 years ago. I was teaching English for about 10 years, and I noticed that in the classroom, we had to use boring textbooks, and these textbooks were not helping my students, and I felt frustrated because I knew that there was a better way to learn. I wanted to help my students with natural phrases, just like Vanessa was saying with her course, the 50 natural expressions in English. And so I've made courses, including 2 audio ebooks that are part of the English Power Pack that I'll tell you about in just a minute. But I've made courses to help intermediate adult English learners to connect what they've learned in their English classrooms with the real world and how we really speak English. I love getting questions from English learners like you and giving you motivation and inspiration and practical phrases and practical tips for speaking English more fluently. I think what's really interesting is that often we just need the right phrases and some confidence. We don't have to memorize all of the grammar rules. We don't have to memorize all the vocabulary that ever existed in English, but we do need to learn how to express ourselves clearly and learn those phrases that people use most often. We put most of our effort into learning the phrases that we use on a daily basis, and you can always learn more. But I always tell my students, don't wait. You have to use English from the first moment. Don't be shy. Just open your mouth and speak from the first time you learn a word. Or if you don't want to speak, at least use the word in your mind, in your thoughts. Try to review it. Try to use it. See if you feel comfortable with it. And that's how you'll make it part of your own vocabulary, and you'll be able to use it in the future. So that's a little bit about where I'm coming from. I want to remind you that you can ask me questions in the chat box. Let me tell you a little bit more. From the time I was teaching English in Japan, I had my YouTube channel for several years. I used to work with students giving one-on-one lessons and tutoring, and now I have video courses and audio ebooks at gonaturalenglish.com. Last year in November, the very end of November, after Thanksgiving, I organized the first English Power Pack, and it was life-changing for me. I love to connect people. I always tell my English learners, English learning is about connection. It's about connecting with each other and communicating. That's what I did with my online English teacher friends. I connected with them. I think there were 6 of us and 7 products last year. So this year it's grown. Now there's 7 of us English teachers and 8 products. But last year was the first English Power Pack, and I was nervous. I didn't know. I didn't know how it would go. I was afraid, what if my English teacher friends don't want to do this? What if nobody wants to participate with their course and their product? Because the English Power Pack makes it very affordable. So the teachers aren't making as much, but they all wanted to join. They all wanted to join to make English learning easier and more affordable and give you a great deal. And they wanted to join because they like working together. We're friends in real life too. We don't think of each other as competitors. We actually like to collaborate with each other. So we got together and we made the first English Power Pack in November last year, and it went so well. We had less than 1% of people who asked for a refund. That was a very small percent. Over 99% of people gave us positive feedback. They said they loved the English Power Pack, that they were amazed at how much value was in it, at how hard the teachers worked to put these lessons inside one product to benefit English learners. And they were amazed that they were able to download everything and start learning right away. So I loved hearing back from English learners saying that they really were thankful for the English Power Pack. It went so well that we were able to donate $4,250 US to a charity called Pencils of Promise. That's 10% of our sales. And this year, this June and July, this summer, we're doing the same. 10% of our sales will go to this charity called Pencils of Promise. And Pencils of Promise is an educational charity. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the other teachers involved too, to be able to help young people around the world to have a better education. So by buying the English Power Pack, you will be helping young people to go to school and to get a better education. I'm really proud of that. So we decided to do the English Power Pack again this summer because it went so well. And that's why we're here today. We're doing the live cast. This is something new that we've never done before because a lot of the English learners like you wanted to know more about the teachers who were part of the English Power Pack. So I hope that you've enjoyed today. The English Power Pack is something really special. Just like this live cast, it's not going to be repeated in the same way. Every time it's unique. It's available only for 1 week from June 27th to July 4th. I get really excited about it. I get really emotional about it. When I was able to donate over $4,000 to the charity Pencils of Promise, I cried. I mean, there were tears in my eyes because that was more money than I ever imagined I could donate to something that I cared about, like education. And so that meant a lot to me. And I want you to know that it means a lot to me to be able to help young people to have a better education. And it means a lot to me to be able to help English language learners to become fluent through the English Power Pack. So if I keep talking, I'm probably going to cry because I get so excited about it. And I get excited that our other teachers, Shayna, Kevin, Michael, Lisa, Vanessa, and Rachel are so passionate about English language teaching and about their English language learners. You guys, they're so passionate about helping you. And I want you guys to know that. So one thing I just remembered, Rachel from Rachel's English couldn't be here today because she is at another conference, but her product is amazing. Rachel's English pronunciation audio ebook. you can go to the samples page on the englishpowerpack.com/samples, and you can see a sample of her audio ebook. It's phenomenal. It's awesome. She is so helpful to people who want to improve their pronunciation. And I know that her audio ebook is one of the best resources for learning American English pronunciation. You can also check out her YouTube channel to learn more about her. So I just wanted you to know she wanted to be here. She loves you guys, just like we all love our English language learners, but she had a conflict with her schedule. So that's a little bit about Rachel, a little bit about me. I've been traveling a lot lately, and I know how hard it is to learn another language, because as I travel, I love to learn other languages like Portuguese, Spanish, Japanese, French. I've learned a little bit of each of these languages, and my experience learning other languages has really informed the way that I teach English. I've taught English for 10 years. I've been learning other languages for also about 10 years. And I went to school to get my master's in English language education. So I have a really good formation in teaching English, just like the other teachers who are part of the English Power Pack. So all of that experience, all of that training has resulted in the products that I've created that are paid products through Go Natural English and now through the English Power Pack. So let me talk a little bit about my products that are part of the English Power Pack. The other teachers also shared about their products. So you will find my audio ebook, The Guide to 200 Plus Phrasal Verbs in English, as part of the English Power Pack. Why phrasal verbs? You've noticed that Kevin and Shayna and some of the parts of other courses in the English Power Pack are focused on phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are super important because this is the way that native speakers really speak English. For example, I don't say, I arrived at the office at 10 a.m. I say I got to the office at 10 a.m. Got to, or I go to, or I got to, I get to, sorry, get to present tense, I got to past tense is a phrasal verb that we replace. We don't say arrived very often. It's correct. You can say I arrived at the office at 10 a.m. Perfect, correct, awesome, yes. But you will hear a lot of native English speakers say, I got to the office at 10 a.m. This is what I would say. If you asked me, hey, Gabby, what time did you get to the office this morning? I would say I got to the office at 10 a.m. That's one example of a phrasal verb that you should be familiar with. So in my audio ebook, The Guide to 200 Plus Phrasal Verbs, you're going to learn phrasal verbs according to the situation. So there's many different situations. There's at the office, there's transportation, there's going out and making plans, there's nighttime phrasal verbs, on the telephone. There's a lot of different categories. Each chapter is a different category for when you would use phrasal verbs. And everyone who has a course on phrasal verbs has talked a lot about helping you learn phrasal verbs through conversation, the natural way. So this product, the 200 plus phrasal verbs, doesn't just give you a list of phrasal verbs. It shows you the phrasal verbs that natives use in context, in a situation, in the exact situation that you would need to understand the phrasal verbs and when you might want to use the phrasal verbs. And I give 2 examples for each phrasal verb. You can read, you can listen, and you can repeat after me so that you can use the phrasal verbs on your own. The chapters are short, so you can learn in just 5 minutes a day, if you listen to one chapter at a time. Some chapters are longer than others. So some days you might listen for 5 minutes, some days you might listen for 15 minutes, but I really like to keep lessons short and sweet, because I know you're busy. I know I'm busy. I know the best way to learn is to be able to learn quickly in the small moments of your day when you have time, or maybe while you're doing other things. You can listen while you're on the train, or while you're walking your dog, or while you're driving, or maybe taking a walk, or at the gym, maybe while you're doing the dishes. It doesn't matter. You can be learning while you're doing other things that maybe aren't as exciting. So also, besides the guide to 200 plus phrasal verbs, I'm super excited to tell you about a bonus book, an ebook that I'm including as part of the English Power Pack. It's called Fast Forward Reading Skills. Have you ever wondered how to read like a native? You know, we talk a lot about speaking like a native or listening to native speakers, but I also think that reading is very important, and you can learn so much about English and about life through reading. So in this ebook, you're going to be able to improve your reading skills. You're going to learn strategies for reading more like a native, not just any native, but a smart native speaker, someone who's good at reading fast. Have you ever heard of speed reading? We talk a little bit about speed reading in English in the Fast Forward Reading ebook. And there's a lot of practice exercises, practice text in the reading ebook. So this is something that is a special bonus. We have 8 products, not just 7, but 8 courses and products that are part of the English Power Pack for you this summer. So 7 awesome teachers, 8 awesome products. You can do so much with these lessons that you're getting as part of the English Power Pack. And you can be an independent learner. You can study on your own. You can use these materials to be completely independent, or you can use them as part of your lessons if you choose to separately try online English lessons. So these materials will give you plenty to study for several months, at least until the next English Power Pack, which will be different than this one. Every English Power Pack is different. Now, I had a question. If you already have one of the products in the English Power Pack, do you get a discount? The English Power Pack is so valuable and it's so discounted that is the price. The $97 that you pay gets you over $400 worth of lessons. It's an amazing value and it's very unique. It's only available this coming week, Monday, June 27th to Monday, July 4th, Independence Day. So we're celebrating your independence as an English learner, your ability to study on your own and empower yourself as an English learner through this English Power Pack sale. We're also celebrating being able to give to a charitable cause like Pencils of Promise to help them to build a school and give them the power to help young learners all over the world. The English Power Pack was created for these reasons, to give you an awesome value, to connect with you, with more English learners, to connect me, to connect with other online English teachers, and to create something bigger, to be part of something bigger. And I want you to be part of something bigger. This English Power Pack is your chance to be part of something that will affect more learners, not only English language learners, but also the young learners around the world that will be helped by our charity that we're giving to the English Power Pack. So let me see if, to close, we have any last questions. I am really, really excited to see what questions you might have. So let me take a look here. I see BGG is saying, I already have 3 products of the English Power Pack. Well, that's good. You will still get an amazing deal by getting the other 5 products for $97. Yes, definitely. Eddie BRL. It's a great idea. If you get the English Power Pack, you can add on, in addition, you can get online English lessons. And at Go Natural English, you can also take a look at online lessons at gonaturalenglish.com/online lessons. Can the pack, this is a question from Leela KH, can the pack give me the ability to improve my speaking and writing? Because I used to listen to podcasts and it helped me understand the language but cannot speak it yet. Absolutely. The English Power Pack will give you lessons that focus on all skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Now, the English Power Pack is a downloadable informational product. It comes in audio files, video files, and text files. It is not including live lessons. That's separate. But the English Power Pack will help you with your speaking skills in English. As you listen to materials, to lessons in the English Power Pack, you will be asked questions and you can practice your speaking when you answer. Also, you can shadow what you hear in the English Power Pack. We talked about shadowing a little bit before. It's speaking or saying what you hear right after the teacher says it. It's a very good method to improve your pronunciation too. So I love this. I love that one of you said, I've been shadowing Gabby while I'm listening. That's awesome. I love that in the English Power Pack, you're going to get lessons from 7 different teachers. We have different voices. We have different personalities. We have different lessons. You might notice that some of the lessons teach you similar things. But that's a good thing because that will help you to review and to remember what you're learning. So there's so many advantages to getting the English Power Pack. I don't think I have to tell you over and over what a good value it is. I know that you can tell. I want you to know that the English Power Pack is available for only 1 week. So the most important thing that I want you to do today is to mark your calendar for next week, for Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, to come back to EnglishPowerPack.com and make sure that you get it before the sale ends on Independence Day, July 4th at midnight or 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York time. Make sure that you mark your calendar. We did this live cast early because we don't want you to miss out on the English Power Pack. Also, if you have colleagues or friends who you think would benefit from the English Power Pack, please tell them about it so they don't miss it and so that they can be part of something bigger too and help us to donate, help us to grow the English Power Pack community and the good that we can do with it. I am really proud to be part of this project. I'm really proud of all of you for coming here today and for being here live with me and with all of our awesome teachers, with Shayna, with Kevin, with Michael, with Lisa, with Vanessa, and Rachel is here with us in spirit. We say when someone can't attend but they want to, she's here with us in spirit. I know she wanted to be here and she is very much looking forward to the English Power Pack sale next week. I am really excited that you came here today and I just want to thank you. I want to I just want to say that it's been really good to have this interactive time with you. And if you think of questions, if you think of any comments or any doubts or anything that you'd like to know about the English Power Pack, you can ask anytime. You can ask on the homepage, EnglishPowerPack.com. Just scroll down to the contact box and you can type in your question, and I will be handling your questions. I'm Gabby, again, from Go Natural English, and I'm the organizer of the English Power Pack. So I'm here to help you, to support you. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts, I want to help you. And I want to make sure that if you think the English Power Pack is a good fit for you, that you are able to get it and use it successfully. Now, if you don't want to improve your English, then don't get the English Power Pack, because it will really help you improve your English. But I don't know why you would be here if you didn't want to improve your English. I think all of us are here because we believe in the power of English fluency. That's why we've come together, because we want to connect with each other through English. And that is what the English Power Pack is about, to connect and give you powerful English skills. So I can't wait to see you inside the English Power Pack. And I know all the other teachers are looking forward to seeing more of you inside the English Power Pack. And as you heard earlier, when you join the English Power Pack, you get access to other benefits that the teachers provide to you, such as Lisa and Vanessa and I have private Facebook groups for our members. I forgot to mention that when you join the English Power Pack, you also get access to my private Facebook group for learners, where we chat about our daily lives, we practice English, we share photos and videos, and we ask each other questions. I answer any question related to English that you want inside my Facebook group for Go Natural English learners. So I hope to see you there. And also, Shayna mentioned that she gives feedback to her learners. So you're getting so much more, so much value out of the English Power Pack. It's not only the downloadable files, but it's also keeping that connection with your teachers. So I can't wait to see you in our sale next week. And as I mentioned before, if you have any doubts or any questions, feel free to contact us through EnglishPowerPack.com. You can scroll down to the contact box there. So thank you again for attending today. The replay will be available for you to watch if you'd like to share it with your friends as well. You can share this page with them to get to know their favorite English teachers online too. So a big hug to you from New York, from the US. I really appreciate that you've come here. So I tried to answer as many questions as possible, but I'm really sorry if I couldn't answer all the questions. I've been online here for over 3 hours, and I'm going to get kicked out of my office here because it's only open until 6 p.m. and it's 6:01 p.m. So I have to get going, but I just want to say a big thank you once more for everyone who's part of this, all the teachers and all of you who have come to attend and who have the desire, the goal to improve your English. I really admire your motivation to have English fluency. I really do. And so I hope to see you next week in the sale. All right. Mwah. Bye, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.